it goes to Elizabethboro, and a third of it goes to Buena Vista right now. But part of the overages and the overflows, we have to work with Elizabethboro as far as, so, this will help foster that working relationship, and we'll get a report, and we'll know what's going on, and we'll go from there. So that's where
I
we're
don't
at.
disagree at all. I just think.
No, I appreciate it, Bobby. I know that.
Though, that we haven't got anything. If they want to start from this day going forward, that would make sense, but, they made voting rights that affected rates, that they raised rates on the township, and nobody knew about it. And I'm just saying, again, we really disagree how it happened back 13, 14, but as far as the last 2 years, it just would have been.
I know there were things that were submitted that were torn up. I also know that a phone number was given to one of the board members that said, please call me, and it was thrown in the garbage.
Well, it's all hearsay. Can we move on?
Roll call.
Commissioner Simula?
Yes.
Commissioner Saxon?
No.
Commissioner Kozma?
Yes.
Commissioner Beckowitz? Commissioner Blake?
No.
Commissioner Evans?
No.
President Roderick?
Yes.
4-3 motion carries. President Roderick?
Yes.
I'd like to ask a question. On Friday night, when we get our packet, and it has the agenda in it, why is it that by Monday night, it is totally changed, and there's so much more added to it, that it's nothing like what I anticipated was going to happen over the weekend?
Well, and I will answer that question, and now there's, part of that is, a lot of these issues had to do with the sanitary and with like Veolia and the bond issues and things like that. Those weren't addressed. We didn't go until Thursday to the DEP meeting. And the packets go out Thursday evening, and they were amended basically Friday.
Friday evening, that's when they're given.
Well, it has to do mainly because I do the agenda, my office hours, I work Fridays, I work from basically 9 all the way till 7 o'clock.
You're
So,
by appointment only. It says it on your door.
so basically, as far as the, in my time frame, I have to work that in between on Friday. If there's an issue that comes up on Thursday, this issue basically, these ads were added on because of that. Now, this shouldn't happen every meeting, but the time frame that it has. Now, I will tell you, like, you weren't here, you weren't a commissioner in the last year.
But I mean, since January, it seems like each time,
It's always been like that.
it's always like that.
Doesn't make it right,
I
but
can
it's
show you
even been worse.
agendas too.
Well, why can't it be updated on the website then, so you guys can all access it like us? Because I printed the same
I don't know how to
agenda,
read your website.
which, well, Donald, you know how to do so much else. You should learn by now.
Wow.
Well, there's two ways to handle it.
I mean, that would take 30 seconds to update it on the
I
website.
read everything that you send out, and then it's like, where did all this come from?
There's two ways that we can handle this going forward. I mean, the first way is we could just cut it off, whatever's in the packet, as far as it goes there, unless it's necessary township business. Now, this is a discussion working meeting. This is not technically a voting meeting, so this is to make discussion. And when we have things that come
No,
up
I'll
for
show you
discussion,
what's on the
sometimes they're not added on until the last
Well, I didn't
minute
see it either.
or Friday.
I'm not too good at that.
They don't
And I
give you
can
that.
tell you, like, this has been, it's something that, we will work with, and we'll try to work as far as, I mean, hopefully we don't have as many major issues. I mean, it's been
No, I'll get it.
one issue after an issue after another, so this is, this is kind of the,
Right, and not only that, we just had the bond council and your,
they were
That's
just here
what's on the
tonight, they talked to
website.
both of us in exec session, so, and that, I didn't talk to both of them until
That's
Friday.
what came in the
So,
packet.
like I said, they were
And
here
this is what
tonight,
we actually got
they were here
tonight.
tonight to discuss that, so those are two of the major
It's a
issues
good
on
idea
there
to
too.
get on it and find
We didn't
it.
discuss that until tonight. Any other questions? Anything else from the board? I do have one other item for discussion. The Blytheville Road, Chief, Johnny, you guys, that's gonna be worked on tomorrow, correct? Tomorrow morning, so that'll be taken care of, that garbage will be worked on tomorrow.
Rob, you said the garbage would pick up the.
Yes, the garbage will be picked up tomorrow, so they're working, there's a coordination to get that worked out tomorrow, so that will be taken care of tomorrow. And the other thing that we're gonna look at, and just want for a discussion item to be discussed, we're looking at possibly putting out, we're gonna get prices together to do a township newsletter to direct mail to the residents. And we're gonna look at offsetting that with advertising, and right now, we're currently getting some prices together to see what the total cost to that would be, and how, if we can, if it's possible, offset that with advertising, so there would be a $0 cost to the taxpayer, should we get a newsletter out. Without a daily news and without things, I mean, it's hard for people to be informed exactly what's going on and the issues that are there, so we're gonna try to work on that, maybe 2 or 3 times a year, should we get the advertisers to offset the, the amount of the mailing and the printing of the letter, so. Anything else before we go into public comment? Okay, we'll go to public comment. Steve Large.
Okay. First, I'd like to thank Commissioner Blake, because my concern is the same as the one that you just raised. In what can only be classified as a recent epidemic of including additional voting items to the Commissioner's meeting agenda. To my recollection of March 7th meeting, 4 voting motions were proposed and passed at the conclusion of the published record and account of items without any prior knowledge of the attendant citizens, making it unnecessarily difficult to comment on those undisclosed agenda items. It strikes me as peculiar that one of several scenarios plays out when these things happen. 1, this building bears witness to some truly mystical or magical occurrences of spontaneous enlightenment. Or 2, collusive agreements between parties are struck without prior public knowledge, leading to deception, misleading, or defrauding others of their rights. This includes pushing an ulterior, contrived agenda, something that the public should not be privy to or have a fair opportunity to ponder, question, comment, or debate. This second scenario is the one that troubles me most. The addition of voting items, predetermined or not, serve as a deterrent, dissuading attendees from fully exercising both rights to both speech and petition. And in the case of several of those items, it appears to only diminish and or silence criticism of contentious items. Those added items are often referred to as political blind spots, because their intent is to conceal certain relevant and perhaps even controversial details from public knowledge, or to expedite items while limiting concerned members' ability to properly and purposefully prepare commentary. Back in January, a public declaration was made by this commission professing greater transparency. Transparency includes shedding light on weak enforcement of rules, shady deals, and other illicit practices that undermine, curtail, and weaken otherwise impartial, honorable local governments. Transparency ensures that public officials, including board members and commissioners, act visibly and understandably and report on those activities. And it also means that the general public can and has a responsibility to hold them to account. It's the surest way of guarding against corruption, and it helps increase trust in the people and institutions on which our futures depend. And let's face it, all of us could use some additional faith and trust in both our public institutions and the duly elected persons that occupy them. Corruption, in fact, corrodes the social fabric of our society. It sabotages people's trust in the political system, in its institution, and in its leadership. A distrustful or apathetic electorate becomes cynical, believing that actions and motions such as these are made out of covert motives rather than public interest. Corruption can only be kept in check if representatives from government, business, and civil society at large work together, developing and abiding standards and procedures they all support. When those policies no longer serve an institutional function, they should be rescinded or amended to reflect changes, but done so in a manner consistent with allowing all stakeholders to contribute, or at least have an awareness of any issues or motions. The recent and potent surge in attendance here at these meetings should serve as powerful notice that citizens are paying attention, are engaged in the process, and are willing to devote time educating themselves on the issues impacting them. Temporarily suspending a policy to create and pass a motion and then just minutes later motion further to reestablish the original policy speaks to the absurd nature of the action, as well as the hubris of some at their discretion and when it serves their desires and interests, attempting to restrain practices established to protect institutional integrity. In effect, this is intellectual larceny, stealing from interested parties the ability to redress grievances and, again, have a legitimate opportunity to ponder, question, comment, or debate those items. If we're to maintain what most residents would classify as a great place to live, we need to promote the marketplace of ideas while being transparent through stimulation of rigorous discourse and dialogue. This process encourages concerned members to sift through and leverage competing proposals in an environment of scrutiny, deliberation, and exchange, permitting truth or the best possible results to be fulfilled. I submit to you, Board of Commissioners, who among you will make a motion, tonight or otherwise, to stop the political blind spots from infecting these proceedings. It casts a long shadow over the ethics and principles of the Commission. Who among you is willing to be truly transparent, as you stated in January, and act on behalf of this constituency to allow citizens fair opportunity to intelligently research, form opinions, and bring to light the vast quantities of information and knowledge required to make the best decisions possible? Thank you.
Mr. Large, and I will go ahead and I'll comment, and I have a lot of comments to make on that, but I will make that motion, because like I said, due to my office hours and things that come up, and I'm gonna make the motion that whatever is placed on the agenda that goes out on the agenda for Friday will be the complete and total agenda. We will hold everything until the next meeting unless it is a immediate township issue that has to be addressed, basically a personnel issue or something to that effect. There is no issue with transparency here. It's basically the timing and the issues here. I mean, I think, you know, the last board that was here, Commissioner Evans, Commissioner Saxon's come to me Friday before a meeting and said, we're gonna buy 4 police cars. I said, we don't even know what it is. And they said, well, you know, then we come to the meeting on Monday, they make a motion, we're $1.6 million over budget, we're still paying for 2 police cars. There was not even any information in our packet. This has been going on forever and ever and ever. This has nothing to do with transparency, but I will make the motion, and I respect your comments as far as whatever the motion will be, whatever is on the agenda and made on the agenda by the time the packets go out. There will not be any additions to them unless they are an essential township business, and if they are, the public will have ample opportunity to comment and make a comment and respond to those come the meeting on Monday. So I'm gonna make that motion. Before we take any questions, I'm gonna make the motion. I'll make the motion, I'm gonna ask for a second. And before we go ahead and do roll call, we'll go ahead and take questions, so. Go ahead, Mr. Hang on. Monique.
I just wanted to comment on your comment of Mr. Saxon, Commissioner Saxon, Commissioner Evans, and the way that you say they practiced prior to, but I have a copy, all 3 copies of the agenda from today of what you could print off the website, what was in the packet, and that what you have here. That if anybody would like, can I finish? Can I finish? Was it my turn to speak?
But we did address
But
that.
if anybody would like to look at them, you can clearly see what their agenda was.
You know what, Steve, I'm just sorry you weren't here for the last 4 years of meetings, because you would have seen much worse than that.
Well,
And I can show you those.
I can only speak to the time that I've been.
I understand
And
that,
like I said,
but nobody's gonna sit here and criticize this board for doing something that they need to own up to themselves.
And as far as the hiring policy, I want to comment on that, Mr. Lorch. Chief Carestas, the hiring policy was suspended whenever Chief Carestas was hired. And I was a board member then. Chief Carestas is one of our finer chiefs that this township has had, and that hiring policy was suspended to hire Chief Carestas. And I will tell you that in exec session, on the agenda, I made the agenda to advertise that position for hire. Commissioner Evans made the recommendation, why go through the process, let's just go ahead and make the hire tonight instead of going through the interview process, because Lauren would not, she was the financial specialist, she would potentially lose her job if somebody else would get hired, and that was a board decision that was made back there. And what I'm gonna go ahead and the restructuring process that happened because of all this is a cost savings right now of the township, $121,330 compared to what it was if the same people, now we had people resign, we had different things happen, but it's $121,000 savings compared to what it was if we would have had the same people in the positions last year. So that was potentially why, because, you know, Lauren is basically handling, there isn't a manager, there isn't an assistant manager, and she was the financial specialist. So those two positions, she basically has all three of those positions wrapped into one right now. And like I said, that was brought up by Commissioner Evans in exec session. So I just want to make that clear that we, you know, that was the decision that was made by the board, and that was made in the exec session after I had it on the agenda. So to make accusations that it's larcenous, that was something that was a board decision, and it was on the agenda to be advertised. So hang on one second.
Hey, Rob, I want to answer Ms. Blake and the fellow back there. For 4 years, I've been arguing about the same thing, and it was worse. If you'd have come to the meetings, you'd have realized, because I kept bringing it up, wait a minute, they brought things up on the agenda. You have things on the agenda that you said you didn't know about prior. Before that, they didn't even put them on the agenda. They come up here and put things, and bring things up and vote on it that wasn't even on this paper, like what you're saying is.
Like tonight,
That's how bad it was.
just like tonight.
Did you know that?
No, that's
Okay,
on
I'm
the
just
agenda,
wondering.
these were never on the agenda.
Oh,
Yeah, they were brought up.
not one
before.
that any of the citizens could address though, right, Jillian?
The police cars are not even on the agenda. I had a conversation with your husband, Commissioner Saxon, about board president back in November, and he told me, so one of the problems you're gonna have as board president, you can't put everything on the agenda because you can't let that out there. That gives everybody the weekend to go and put that to let that go out there.
Please
That could
tell
end up
me
showing.
when I had that conversation.
You're a bold-faced liar.
I'm gonna tell you right now.
If you're gonna lie, then you said that. Absolutely.
That is
You told me,
absolutely.
you can lie all you want, you told me.
You couldn't even commit to a meeting with
You
anybody.
were supposed to have 3 meetings in November, you never showed, you were sick all 3 times. Am I right?
No, Chris had to work and everything else happened,
So,
no,
we had to have a conversation in November or December.
We
Or,
had,
I haven't talked to you since last, probably,
So like I said,
September,
we'll-
October.
we'll go ahead, yeah,
Let's just move on.
absolutely,
Can I ask the question I wanted to ask?
yes.
Since you brought up Lauren and her salary, I was curious, is it salary or is she getting overtime in addition to the 2 raises plus benefits?
She was hired hourly. I asked whenever in exec session for a salary, and it was agreed upon that instead of the salary, it was, the motion was made, and it wasn't my decision that it was an hourly and it would be reevaluated after 6 months based on job performance. So that's how the hiring was done, and that was not my decision, so. Any other questions? I have a motion in a second, and we have public comments, so
It's more smoky.
the motion, basically, I'll reread it since there's been so much that went on. Motion that the agenda that goes out on the Friday before the meetings, there'll be no changes between the weekend and Monday unless there is essential township business, and any additions that will be made at the meeting day for essential township business, the public will have ample time to question and respond to those. So I have a motion in a second, and
Can
I'm
I
gonna,
ask a question? That's still gonna allow you to make motions off the floor though, right? Is that, or are you totally
no, I mean,
about that practice? I'm saying something like, somebody comments in the audience that,
You can't
I don't know, they, you know, you can't, yeah, you don't
I
want
don't know if
to.
you can restrict,
Like the purchase of the equipment.
yeah, and we're
Yeah,
gonna,
like something like that.
I don't think that was included, but that's gonna be your opinion. I mean, what is your opinion? You're the solicitor, we're gonna take your opinion on that.
Well, I mean,
I don't think we should restrict.
I think you're gonna have a difficult time if you just restrict it just to agenda items only, because you don't know what's gonna come off the floor from the audience or from your administration. You know, there could be things that come up there that, I mean, I think as long as you're motioning, seconding, explaining where it's coming from, and then giving the public an opportunity to comment on it, I think that covers them. I'm just afraid you don't want to handcuff yourself too much. I understand there's a balance, I get that. But at the same time, the township needs to function, and we only have
2 meetings a month. I mean, you know what I mean? There's a lot of time frame.
And I think a lot of that's, I mean, and we're trying to, I think a lot of that's lost in transition, you know, because, and like I said, I will take responsibility because Friday's my busy day and there's a lot that happens and if something happens on Thursday. But from here on out, we're just basically gonna say the
This is
agenda,
what's on the agenda.
what's on the agenda, and we will take motions from the floor if necessary and basically.
Essential township
If it's
business.
essential township business, we'll go from there.
Okay, I just wanna make sure we're
Okay.
still gonna be able to
Yes.
deal with something.
If that's something, I agree. So, roll call.
Commissioner Simla,
Yes.
Commissioner Saxon,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozma,
Yes.
Commissioner Beckowitz,
Yes.
Commissioner Blake,
Yes,
Commissioner Evans.
Yes.
President Roderick.
Yes.
All in favor.
Could I please ask a question on your agenda? When it goes on somewhere, Facebook, the internet, it will be the agenda that you're talking about.
Yes.
And that's gonna go on when? Because your question to the audience or us, you can comment on agenda items. If you don't see the agenda, you can't comment. And if you want to, at least if you see it in advance, you can think about it. So when you talk, and I agree
There's
definitely
an
with
agenda
Matt.
item, there's an agenda in the back of the room.
Yeah, I know, but you sit here and look at the agenda and then you come up with a question. If you're gonna put it on the website, who's gonna do it and what's the time frame for it?
Well, now that we have staff, we've had discussions with that, and I'll take Lauren's recommendation. Do you wanna put it on Friday whenever the packets go out? You say Friday at noon? Or 3 o'clock? We'll say Friday at 3 o'clock, it'll be on the website.
Okay. Thank you.
Citizens to address, Kim Sweck?
that would be me. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Kim Savek. I am the owner and operator of our Place Restaurant along with my husband and my daughter. We've been up on that hill since 1996 on Enterprise Drive. I'm also the neighbor of Port Time. And first, before I start, I wrote down a few notes because I didn't want to get nervous and forget to say thank you to the police officers from both Elizabeth Township and our neighboring Lincoln Borough for their efforts on Sunday, March 13th. There was chaos in our township. They were very attentive to my needs as best they could be, so I do want to thank them for that. I also want to thank the commissioners who made themselves available that day to hear our concerns. We made phone calls, they were directly answered, or people stopped to our restaurant, they called us back. From some of the commissioners that are here, you know who you are, I truly appreciate it. We did, because we were stagnant that day at our restaurant. My questions and concerns are directed toward the Board of Commissioners on how something like this will be handled in the future, because it's going to happen again. It's happened in the past, it will happen again. I would like to know if there was a traffic management public safety plan in place for this highly advertised event, and if there wasn't, are you considering requiring one for these types of events in the future? Prior to the event, it was highly advertised that there were a minimum of 2,200 people attending, with that number expected to double. Port Time also advertised that they were coordinating a bridal vendor show at the Sunset Room. Small alternative off-site parking lots were identified, saying that there would be a shuttle available. Unfortunately, there was inadequate parking. People were frustrated having to wait for the one shuttle bus and began walking down Rockvine Road and on Route 48, creating a serious public safety issue. I could list many more issues that happened that day that impacted our township residents and our businesses. However, I'm fairly confident that you are well aware of the chaos that that event created on that afternoon. Businesses have occupancy limits as well as ample parking, including handicap requirements, available bathroom facility requirements, etc., based on the type of business and the size of the building. Are these requirements being met considering the diversification of the various businesses now located within Port Time Complex? Why should it be necessary for a business to utilize off-site parking if they are meeting the requirements for the maximum occupancy of their building? Why was there not independent professional security staff hired to coordinate with our local police officers to ensure that there was no parking gridlock, no traffic gridlock, no safety hazards? Is there a standby ambulance also required similar to our school functions where they're also required? Who will be paying for the police officers and the ambulance service that was required that day? As a taxpayer, I feel it should not be coming out of our pockets. In addition, a permit is required to place or replace a simple garden shed on a residential property. Why are there not permits or fees required when something this massive is being held within our community? Thank you for your time. I do appreciate it.
And just in response to you, Kim, it was unbelievable the amount of people. I mean, on one hand, you love to see that many people in Elizabeth Township, but two, it was an absolute nightmare. I mean, people couldn't get to church, they couldn't get anywhere, and what had happened from there, it did trigger a lot of events to be looked at and worked on here. John Snelson's involved, the chief's involved, Solicitor Rakunas is involved, and I'll actually turn it over to Solicitor Rakunas.
So I'm proposing to enact or adopt an events and gathering ordinance, which would require a registration and permitting procedure for all events such as that. So they would have to come to the commissioners, file an application, explain what the event is, give an estimated number of people, talk about the plans that they have if there's traffic issues and all that stuff. So I've done them for other communities. I've sent out a draft that we're gonna tweak, and eventually, we'll be adopting that ordinance, so hopefully that'll avoid any problems in the future. We'll at least know whether or not, we have the capability, or if they have to supply extra help for traffic or whatever it is. We'll know in advance, and we can address it through the ordinance. So that's the game plan.
Now, how about the occupancy? Amount of occupancy that's up there. With all the diversification up there and all the different businesses now that are up there, it's not just the gymnasium. There's multiple functions going on up there, and I was just curious as to what the occupancy was in the building and whether there is ample parking for everything that's going on.
We can take a look at that. I'm not sure what the occupancy is. That'll be set for me, but I can pull that and, we can see that it's posted up there. That way we have a better understanding of which is something we want to do township-wide, so we know and it's readily accessible.
You're right, they used to happen a lot more before they expanded their parking lot.
Oh, it's been a lot better.
But I have to bet you, if the policemen are at the bottom of the hill, stopping people from coming up Enterprise Drive, they would have been everywhere. They would have been on the street, they would have been in our lot, they would have been everywhere. But on the flip side of that, my customers couldn't get to me.
They were stopping them
So,
too.
Yeah.
I mean,
That wasn't their
not
fault.
many businesses on that street are open on Sundays. We are. And I realize I'm not the size of Corton, and I'm not by any means trying to stop business from going up there, because if he has 5,000 people driving past my door to get to his door, that's great for me. But his business cannot negatively impact my business. And that's exactly what happened on Sunday. And I really need some sort of communication, some sort of commitment from the township so that we can stay here and work together, not necessarily alienate one of us to have to leave.
And Kim, that's why everybody was involved. I've personally witnessed it, saw what was there, and every business is viable. We want it to work for everybody, and that's why Solicitor Rakunas is looking at this and working with everybody, because we have to have a workable situation, because you couldn't get anywhere. I honestly thought somebody got killed pulling out of Kogo's or something, because it was so bad. I said, well, I hope everybody's okay, because the traffic was backed up that far, that bad. It was really, I don't think anybody anticipated anything like that, and it just.
I would hate to
We
disagree
did.
with you, but.
If you look at their website, they were advertising 3,000 people coming.
Oh, wow.
I mean, if you look, I mean, they were on Facebook, they were telling they were gonna have that many people.
Well, and Russ, that's the exact reason why we're gonna look at having an ordinance to, to limit, we just can't handle that much traffic. I mean, we can't, so it's just something we're gonna look at making it work for everybody, and that's the goal.
Really, even in this township, it's not just that court time. Over the years, we've had other events that have gridlocked Boston, Lane Hill, Poverty Unit Hillbillies turned Lane Hill into a parking lot. We never even, any advance warning of any of this, and that's what we need, because our road system in the township, it does not have traffic lights, there are no turn lanes, and that's why it gets backed up. So that's something we need, so they have to come to us to get a permit and say, what are you gonna have, how many, what's your parking?
Can you build them up for your officers' hours? Because, I mean, that was 4 hours of 3 officers not doing what they were supposed to do that day.
Plus an ambulance.
Well, plus an ambulance had to go to be able to transfer somebody that was in a wheelchair.
We had talked about it, but, when the solicitor was looking into that. They were still able to answer calls, though, they did leave to answer calls.
Just the ones that were
Just
late.
one.
Yeah, I saw them leave one time for
just the DPW that was a parking problem anyway.
Very good. Any other questions, comments? Mr. Vasco?
Yeah, my name's Tim Vasco. I own the property across from Court Town. For the past 2 years, I've been trying to excavate this property. In the meantime, what you're talking about, this weekend happens, the whole road. Every weekend this happens. I can't get into my property. I've had the police come down there several times for people parking from court time in my lot. They parked there in the lot in the mud when I was digging it out when I got my permits. I have video footage that's not fuzzy enough for a positive identification of the person running over my no trespassing signs that I put up the day I put them down. I know who it is, but I don't have the positive proof of the guy who did it. This goes on every weekend. I have pictures of the guy that owns the property across the street from me parking his equipment out in the cul-de-sac, blocking my entrance that I put in to get into my building. This goes on every weekend, and in the summertime, basketball and all that comes in there. I'm not gonna be able to get access into my property that I've not paid for, pay taxes on, because you don't have adequate parking over there. And they park out on the street. They don't park on his side of the street, blocking people from coming into his business, disrupting his business. They do park at the machine shop. Before I bought my property, he was parking his cars in that empty field legally without the permission of the guy that owned it. Somebody could have been hurt. It wouldn't have been court time being sued for this, which is the main reason I don't want them in my property. They throw their garbage in my property. He had his little party down there on New Year's Eve for his little party, and they threw their bottles, alcoholic beverage bottles that they were drinking and driving, all their orange peels into my equipment that I parked to block them from keep coming up into my property. Which I have pictures of all this, including him and his equipment parked in the cul-de-sac, not allowing me to access my property. Now this year I do plan on putting a building in there. You know, that would be what I would like to do this year. You know, but Sunday, you know, I didn't even plan to work Sunday because I knew this was going to be a problem. And there's been days before this that I've gone, I go to our place to eat with my wife every Thursday, that I've gone up that road on a weekend, and I thought our place parking lot was packed, and figured I'm going to go somewhere else and eat for that particular reason. But it's an ongoing thing. Other than just this weekend, it may not affect everybody in the township like it did this weekend. But for me as a new business, trying to stay here and live in the township rather than moving somewhere else, I can't even access my own property. I had the police come down. Nothing was done about this. It goes on and on and on. I get pictures of every time. I'm tired of calling the police because nothing's being done. There's no parking by police order signs there. We're 50 cars parked in front of no parking by police signs. They're parked there. There's a fire hydrant in front of my property. The building that burned down next to my property, had that been a weekend instead of a Wednesday, just like this weekend, if a fire would have occurred up there for any reason, it would have burned to the ground.
Chief, are you aware of these issues?
We've had calls over the years from different businesses there. I remember before they expanded the parking lot, it used to be all the time. Any type of event up there, it would spill in, especially first to our place and other places that blocking other businesses parking in Cape spot. After they expanded their parking lot, that lessened. But a couple years ago, they had a boxing match up there that greatly exceeded these parking, and that spilled all over the place. So there needs to be some type of permitting process for the indoor events, definitely.
And in your opinion, Solicitor Coons, do you think that the ordinance will clean some of this up?
Yeah, I do. I think that having them come in and have a plan and have it be approved here, and it'll at least give notice, okay, which is I think problem number one. And number two, it'll allow you guys to question things like the traffic, where are these people gonna park, where are they gonna be? So I think it'll clean up some of those issues. It's the surprise element. I mean, even if the owner knows and they say we're bringing 3,000 people, the people who need to respond to it don't know, and that's the problem. You know, that's what causes.
But the thing is that the promoter of it even let them know. Right. And when they rented the place.
Yeah, and
I think they covered all those bases. They had parking down the street at the doctor's office, they had parking across the field with a ball field and fire hall, they had, thanks to our police officers, they had parking at the middle school, which was unanticipated. All these plans that they thought they had in place didn't work, because these people were coming from New York, Maryland, Ohio, and it was well advertised way before the event, which makes me concerned as to why the event was not canceled and moved prior to the event. But that's your job. So you guys can worry about that development. I mean, I appreciate the fact that you're gonna look into it. So, on a go-forward basis, I won't have to worry about this again.
and that's our hope also, and that's why we're gonna work with it and try to make it work for everybody here. Because everybody that has a business, I mean, you want it to be a sustainable business. I mean, like Mr. Vasco, he has to access his business. I mean, he may need to get in on Saturday or Sunday, and it's gonna affect his income if he can't get in there, if he's saving money when he get in there. So it's definitely something that is a workable situation, and I do believe that we'll be able to work this out for everybody involved. Any other questions on this issue? Yes?
Yeah, I have a gas well up there, and the reason that border police sign is there is so no one can block it. We're supposed to have access to it. In case something happens, I call the police, this happens everywhere. This happens all the time. It's like, you put a sign up, tell people not to park there, but they park there. Well, what happens to my gas well? They're not allowed to block my law, but they do it. And nothing's being done. And the pollution that comes down that road, and the garbage, like he's saying, the litter, the kids, the people that are coming down that private road, it's just out of control.
Yes?
So over the summer, the township gave them a permit to set off industrial-sized fireworks. They damaged my property, roof, everything. I called 911. It was a huge mess, and they said that the township gave them the permit to set the fireworks off aimed at my home.
Yeah, they
I
went
thought
on
there
the
was
roof.
a tank in my yard. It was so loud, it's terrifying.
Yeah, fireworks went on the roof and they were smoking.
Yeah. I was scared, and I just want to know if we're going to give them any more permits to set off fireworks at house.
Yeah, but did you, I mean, I'm not
I don't know if
I don't remember that, but it's, assuming that's true, did you file a claim with that company and their insurance company?
No, I didn't want to go through the big thing, because I don't like to make a fuss about stuff.
Okay. Well, that's generally, like, what ends up happening is like the people, like, let's say there's an event, and I don't remember that here, but let's say there's an event and they want to have fireworks, and that gets approved. Generally what'll happen is the company, all right, the fireworks company will come here and they will say, okay, we're fully insured up to this amount, this is our plan, this is how, how much we're gonna do. And it may not be, these commissioners may not know that they're aiming it at your, if that's what happened. Obviously, that's up to the person
Yeah, because
who's
there's only
the
two areas that
pyrotechnics.
can sense it, either back to Forthheimer or my house, there's nothing else.
Right.
So
Right.
the township had to have known if it was either going back up to Forthheimer or their residence.
I don't remember any. Does anybody here remember that?
The cops
I
went
never
there.
even did it.
They said the township gave them the
Yeah.
permit to set them off. That's-
Yeah, they would have to have a permit from the township.
Yes.
They said they had it.
It's something we'll check into, because I honestly don't remember.
I don't know if homeowners insurance has.
And if you have damage, ma'am, if you have damage, I would suggest, I mean, if it's within 2 years, you still have time, file the claim with the company, and the insurance company that covers that fireworks company. They're all insured.
What was the date? Was this on the 4th of July, or
No,
was?
this was a wedding at the Sunset Room, because they have these huge parties, and.
It was his daughter's wedding.
Daughter's wedding.
The owner's daughter's wedding.
Do you remember what the
I
date
have
was?
pictures of my old friend at the house.
Okay.
You can ask the owner, but they got it there.
So it's not just traffic.
Any other questions? Okay, we're gonna move on to the next citizen, Bill Piper.
We're good.
Okay.
Just sign the sheet. Something came up during the evening, I have a right to talk.
Okay.
All right.
Claire Bryce.
Good evening. I want to return this to you, Rob, since you requested it. I didn't realize I paid for this t-shirt, but you can have it back. You asked for it.
that would
Yes,
be-
Lauren sent Lori out, but you asked for the t-shirt back, so I'm returning it to you. You know, I paid for it myself. said that I gave $100 donation to the recreation.
I wasn't lying. I wasn't lying.
I gave $100 to the recreation committee and I was criticized for giving money.
Why were you criticizing? Who criticized
Because we
you?
were, Lauren sent out the word that you're only allowed to give money on Halloween and on Christmas. If I had known that, Rob, I wouldn't have.
Was your check returned?
No, I
Did you
gave the
return the
check.
check? I mean-
We did not ask for donations.
I know you didn't, I gave it, I just gave you
That's
$100 to
Well, and that was
recreation.
very kind of you, but
But
I mean, there was no.
criticized for, yes, I
No,
was, Rob.
there's no criticism here.
He
so.
doesn't take a
There was
donation
no
because it
formal
wasn't asked.
request for
I
donations.
know there wasn't a formal
There was no
request.
criticism from
I
us.
gave it because I wanted to give $100 to recreation.
That's great.
For their work, thank you, thank you. And I'd also like to know if you've done with the investigation of the Visa card. I was told by another commissioner that it was done, we were found not to have done anything wrong.
The auditor is still looking at that, and I know that it's something that the auditor is looking at part of our audit, so they are auditing the credit card, and that was the last, as far as I know, it's not completed.
So for 3 months, this thing that was so horrible, that misspent money, and you damaged my name by saying I misspent funds, which I never had the credit card, let me finish, Rob. I never had the credit card in my hand. I never used the credit card. But that's the way you explained it to the people that were here in the audience in January, that you had to do an investigation and you did not know what Vera Bradley purses were. Yet our financial specialist was the one that helped the person that was handling recreation, and they picked out the colors of the purses, and the purses were to be given as Christmas gifts to the older kids that were there. I just want to clarify that. And also this thing that was on the back table, Susan Merrick was our insurance attorney, and they threw this case out after it was appealed 4 different times. So maybe you should make an announcement about that too.
Well,
Thank you very much.
let me go ahead and comment as far. Nobody accused you of doing anything as far as the misappropriation. What was clarified, and to clarify for the record, we'll go ahead and clarify, because what was done.
Clarify.
Well, yeah, and I am.
Clarify.
I am. And what was done? The recreation funds, there is a recreation account.
Correct, that we raised money for.
Yes.
That's
Well,
the taxpayers' funds.
the recreation, the credit card, and roughly there was $50,000 spent on a credit card. A lot of it was recreation, and it will be separated out by the auditor. And basically, this is an accounting to separate it out, because the way that it was done was that credit card was paid out of the township general fund.
Where our money was put. Our money that we raised was put in the general fund.
Well, and that's the issue that needs to be separated. And the issue with the
Or the accountant should have said that. But
Well,
that's what we were told to put the money.
and that's
so
why
that
it's being audited. But it is
not
not.
put in there. So they paid for what they raised. We
Well-
paid for everything that we spent, Rob. You know that.
And that's not the issue. But the issue
That
is
is the issue, Rob. It is the issue.
The
Because
audit-
you made the public believe that we spent public funds and we did not.
no, you bought alcohol and we didn't
We
approve
did
it for
not
2
buy
weeks.
alcohol.
Yeah, there's one in Spirit
Rob,
Store. Yeah, you did.
Rob, we bought pop at the beer store. We raffled off a basket. You took alcohol. And I will not mention the person's name who is official, that you gave liquor to and you gave and raffled it off at Christmas time. I don't want to mention his name here, but if you want me to, I will. That's the same thing that we did, Rob.
I have no idea what you're even talking
Yes,
about.
you do know, Rob.
Okay,
We're upset because we made a raffle, we didn't sell the tickets to children. And you know that.
let's move on.
No, you're wrong.
Patty Hoffman.
Hi, here I'm back again. What I want to talk about, of course, is Invenergy. A lot of the commissioners have been showing up at the meetings that we've had at the middle school with Invenergy. This last meeting was a joke, a total joke. It was totally run by Invenergy. Our zoning board did absolutely nothing but give Invenergy the floor. It was embarrassing. These are people that you appoint. These are people that should know better. They didn't know better. I was embarrassed to be a part of this township at that meeting this time. Invenergy humiliated people. They were nasty, and they laughed. They laughed when people made comments. It was not a good situation whatsoever. That all being said, some of the things that have been going on in the township, there's a lot of rumors flying. I'm being told that people are hearing that there's not even a power plant being built here, that it's a substation. And they don't know why the people are whining about a substation. They think it's a little tiny thing. They don't think it's a 22-acre power plant. Not a good situation. So by you saying we need a township newsletter, great, we need to get things out there. We need to know what's going on. Invenergy is also telling us that it's all gonna come back to you, and you guys are gonna have to make the decision. So contrary to what you were telling us, Invenergy's telling us it's gonna come back here. Okay, so if it's gonna come back here, we're also having a lot of feedback on what do our commissioners think? We don't know. I want to know. The people want to know. We want to know where you stand. Are you behind us? Are you not behind us? Are you for this power plant? Are you against this power plant? We want to know. Because if you're believing in Invenergy and not talking to any of the experts that are out in the audience, that are part of the group, that are part of the people doing research, then you're not getting the whole record of what is really going on. There's a lot of things out there that we know that a lot of other people don't know, because we do research. And it's a whole big group of people that do this. I'm asking you today, I want to know where every commissioner stands, and we can come and talk to you if you have questions. We can tell you the truth. We can show you the truth. I've been bringing stuff before this board since day one. I've been handing you things. I've been telling you who Invenergy is. I've been telling you what's going on, and apparently it's just going nowhere, because we still don't. We're still dealing with Invenergy. We're still dealing with being humiliated. So, where do you stand?
I'm gonna vote the way with the people. If the people don't want it, then I can't vote.
Are we allowed to take a poll, a rough, or?
I want an opinion on what we
I
can
don't
say.
know,
That's
well,
why
I mean,
I
don't know how you can ask these people to make a decision now when they
They
don't
have
have all the information. Neither does, and so.
Whoa, wait, the people that are out there, Invenergy's given out huge packets. There's 20,000 things on the internet that tells you what happened in Jessup, what happened in Lackawanna. They tell you every single thing that's being done out there. If you can't make a decision.
You have to understand, there's a process. And
Well, I understand there's a
okay,
process.
So if it gets denied in zoning, before it even comes here, you're probably talking about years before it even comes.
I don't even want to hear that,
So
because
it
that's
may
not what had
even
happened up in
It may
Jessup.
not even be these commissioners.
That's not what had happened in Jessup. It wasn't years before it went through in Jessup.
Yeah, but
They
it
pushed
also
it
was
through.
in Allegheny County, it's not that court system, and it's not the, I don't know if they appealed it to Commonwealth Court.
Yes, they
Petition for
appealed
a
it to
mountain.
everything,
Yeah,
and
it's a
so
petition
did,
for a
everybody's
mountain.
appealed it to everything. That's not what I'm
If you already
asking.
have the answers, then I'm not gonna give you my opinion, I'm
I don't-
I'm
you know
trying
what?
to have a discussion here.
I understand.
You're really like suffocating me. Let me explain to you. I'm trying to explain to you my point, okay? Please. I'm trying to be polite, but I mean, please, let me talk. It's probably been talking about years before it even comes to these people. First of all, the zoning hearing board is still gathering information. That's why they've had continued hearings. So I don't know, again, they can comment if they want. I just don't know if it's completely fair to put each commissioner on the spot and say, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about this? When they don't have the information that you may have, they may not have. You may have information that Invenergy doesn't have, Invenergy may have information you don't have. The point is, for when it comes for conditional use approval, and eventually, if it even gets there, and it may never get there, it may be denied, the appellate court may uphold that, and it may never come here, and it may die on the vine. But if it does come here, I think it's their job to review it in a respectful, thorough way, and then make a decision based on what is best for the township and what is best for the township people, whatever that is.
Okay.
So that's my opinion.
That's your opinion, great. That still doesn't say, okay, right now, tell me with everything that you've heard to this point in time, where you're leaning, because we'll be happy to come and talk to people that have questions.
And that's fine. And they
So-
can answer if they want, but I'm saying, if I were a commissioner, I would tell you, ma'am, I don't have enough information to make an opinion one way or the other, first of all. Second of all, my opinion may not matter. If it dies, because it never gets through zoning, it doesn't matter.
Well, we know that that's not what's gonna happen. I mean, come on, that's just not the way it goes.
Well, I don't know, how do you know that? They're applying for a
Look on the
variance.
internet, look on the internet, they put their feet in the door, they're in the door, they don't go away. It just doesn't happen unless there is somebody here that's helping. So I really just wanna know, just tell me where you're leaning right now. It's not a real hard question, you can say, yes, I think that this is a good idea, I think this is a bad idea, why do you think it's a good idea, why do you think it's a bad idea? I mean, we try to give information, we try to show all of where you can see it from, we try to show how it's going to affect people. They're giving one point of view, we're giving you a real point of view. So, where do you think you stand? It's not a hard question. It really isn't. There's a lot of people in this township that are going to tell you, I don't have a problem with it. There's other ones going to tell you, I have a big problem with it. It's just, where do you lean? I mean, that's the pat answer wherever my constituents go, but they don't even know. I'll tell you what, half the people in your ward are telling us it's a substation. So obviously they don't know about it.
I got 2 calls from people on my board that were against it. That's the only conversation with anybody in my board, they were against it.
Matt, what I'd like to know is, I have an opinion, and I'm perfectly willing to, but the question I have to you as the solicitor, if I issue an opinion, will it sometime in the future hurt these people? And that's what we need to know. If it won't hurt them, then I have no problem. Even
I don't know, because honestly,
either way,
Mr.
we have a
Simolo,
right
I don't
to
know
say
how
that.
far this is going to come, and I don't know.
I don't want to jeopardize.
No, Invenergy's putting it on you. I'm telling you that. If you weren't at those meetings, they are putting it in
They're
your lap.
assuming that they get
Right?
the zoning.
No, they're positive they're coming here. They're telling the zoning board that it's gonna come here, and they're doing us a favor by going to the zoning board and doing this conditional variance right now, but it's gonna come back to you guys for a conditional use, and you're gonna have to make up your minds. They're putting it on you. I'm not putting it on you, so that's why I wanna know where you stand, because they're putting it on you.
Where do you stand? I'm curious.
Excuse me, can I say one thing before my false tooth falls out? I went to the meetings and tried to listen to everything. And one gentleman stood up at the end and says that land up there can be made into residence. He made a comparison with the Love Canal in Niagara. In your research, what's the status of that 600 acres? Not ball fields or hunting or?
No, it could be.
Could be.
Absolutely could
DEP
be.
to put residential houses.
Okay,
And that was the attorney from the DEP told us that in his office.
Okay, don't you think
last week.
that's a critical point that they should agree on?
And then people stood up there and lied and said you couldn't put anything but a power plant.
Right.
They're using that as their argument. They're saying, because you can't use this for anything else, you can let us put the power plant.
That's right.
But what if they were own
There's a
experts?
DEP who regulates it.
And you
says you
schooled
can put
me on
houses there if you
Hazelwood.
want.
One of
You
their
took
own
me to school
experts
on
said you
Hazelwood.
could do other things. They looked into, they weren't told, they were told to research the power plant. But he himself said there are other things that you could put up there. You could put a hunting thing, you could put a park, you could put all kinds of other things up there. Their expert said it, if you would have been at one of the meetings and heard it. So, I mean, you know, it's...
I mean, I understand what you're trying to get from the commissioners, but I think Commissioner Simula does bring up a great point that I really didn't even consider until he said it. But you don't want to have a commissioner stand up here and say, you know what, you're right. This is the worst thing this township, that could ever happen to this township. And then they come and they finally get through us and they come here for conditional use approval and they use the recorded minutes to say, this commissioner's biased. He didn't even give us a fair hearing. Like, you don't want to do that. I really think he brings up a good point. I think the answer that you need to hear is they're going to do what, after getting the information, they're going to do what they feel is best.
Okay, then how about this? Chris, can we come and talk to you and tell you real facts? Will you talk to us? Jane, can we come and talk to you and tell you real facts? Joanne, can we come and talk to you and give you real facts? Rob, can we come and talk to you and give you real facts?
Absolutely, you know that, Pat.
Andrew, can we come and talk to you and give you real facts that you will listen to as you did in Venergy?
I'll say, yes.
Okay,
You know, my-
so we are going to be calling you people. We are going to sit down with you if we have to do it as a group. I know Venergy likes to do it in one-on-one because they try to sway everybody. We'd be happy to do it in a group, give you a lot of information so that you can be armed with this information, so that you're not sitting there believing all this nonsense that's out there, that you're hearing real, honest to goodness facts that can be backed up on the internet, that can be backed up by the people that have had it happen to them already. Okay?
Deal.
Okay, deal.
Hang on, let me get through the people that signed up, then we'll take the other question. Mr. Piper, you actually did sign up, so you can go ahead.
Yeah. I wasn't humiliated, I was outraged. Have any of you got phone calls from ISS?
There's some out there.
You asked them some questions?
I didn't get one, but there are some out there. I got one from the IRS, and I got one from, this is a new one, from an alarm company. They wanted to update my alarm, and so I started on them, and I said, well, how did you know that I have an alarm system? Well, they babbled around, and she said, let me put you with the supervisor. And I said, well, what right do you have to pry into my, well, we just want to help you an update. I said, well, there's two things. I said, I'm going to call my company, first of all, find out if they gave you the information. And secondly, after I hang out with them, I'm calling the police. Guess what? They hung up on me. But there is SSI out there because I've had people complaining.
Well, they were told half-truths. If you ask them some questions, they'll say, all the benefits are coming to the community. It's not. This electricity is going someplace else. It's going to employ 321 people. It's not. It's going to employ 21. The 321 people are just the construction employees. At the zoning board meeting, the away team's attorney, somebody brought some photos out that they took in their neighbor's backyard showing where the plant was going to be. And the away team said, well, this is just a proposed plant. You can't promise this is where the plant's going to be. He didn't want them to let, checked into the photos when the month before they submitted photos that were mislabeled and inaccurate. They,
To the house, looked at how.
yeah.
To the house, to.
They didn't really talk to anybody that wasn't an expert, but their experts tried to tell us that Finleyville was in Elizabeth Township.
And Trappers.
Yeah.
That was a good
One
one.
of their experts tried to tell us the road was
You know
named
why?
Neoga.
Because of Ridge Road. Because there's two Ridge Roads on that part. Yeah, that Ridge Road over there is Finleyville.
Listen, let me give you another one, a client of mine, and this, we need to know, maybe, just give it to you. She got the call, there's a young man on the other line crying. Said it was her grandson.
Yeah.
And he had been in a car with someone that they stopped, and they had found drugs in the car, but he didn't participate. He's crying in jail, and he said, I need you to send X amount of dollars to this address, or otherwise they won't release him. Fortunately, her son was there and it caught on, but there's so many things going on, it's
My
ridiculous.
father got a phone call like that, yeah.
Jim Hoffman? Jim? Okay. Okay, we're good.
Enough out of one family for tonight, but.
Okay.
Megan?
All right. You know
Look,
what?
the SSI survey that's being talked about, just to clarify, SSI is a marketing company that does surveys by phone, that called various households in the township over the last few days, asking very specific questions on opinions about the proposed power plant. They went as far as to ask whether or not people would vote commissioners if they supported it. Seems a little out of line to give that kind of support to your commissioners through a survey from a company that was clearly identified on behalf of Invenergy, but that's just my opinion.
That's the first one.
They were behind.
They're gonna hand the information over at some point, and guess what? There's lack of visibility again. And questions, as everybody knows, you can get whatever answer you want, just how you ask the questions, and that's what was done.
Absolutely.
Yeah, real quick, just so that I clarify this too, as far as putting it on the record. Those of us that have decided to go ahead and research this thing a little bit more, what we've dealt with lately is cars stopping in front of our homes, taking pictures of our homes. I was followed home from the zoning hearing the other night. I had actually pulled in my neighbor's driveway as high beams were being flipped at me. And then, of course, you know, I go to get out of my car. I'm not exactly afraid, but you've got a lot of people who are residents who just want more information, who are they're basically being intimidated at this point.
Well, and if that happens, please contact our police department.
Absolutely. We've got pictures of the activity I can get with you. That's not a problem whatsoever. But
No.
this is the kind of things that are happening.
We expect
And
a
it can't
response
go
on
on.
that too.
Didn't they take a picture of your license plate, Bill?
Yes, they did.
Yep. So those of us that, you know, basically just want to gain more information are now being harassed, and it's absolutely ridiculous, and I want it on the record.
Anybody else? Mr. Thomas?
This is a little, it involves the power plant, but it's a little bit off. Several years ago, when I was a commissioner, the board, we went up while US Steel was reclaiming the property. And they were digging out 2 pits, and then they made the big new rubber line pit and all that other stuff. And we had some commissioners negotiate with US Steel for $55,000 to repair Henderson Road. And I rode up Henderson Road. That money was supposed to be put earmarked in a special fund for Henderson Road. And it wasn't spent on Henderson Road. We still have the money, or?
As far as I'm aware, that there isn't a special fund. There's no special fund that I'm aware of.
I don't know any
For Henderson Road, so.
When that money was turned over, I believe it was put right into, the road paving program. I questioned that. Yes.
Okay. Because Henderson Road stays.
Yeah, I agree.
Beverly?
I just wanted to say, I got one of those phone calls with this lady asking these questions, because I've been going to the meetings. I knew some of the answers to give, and I knew some of the questions that they were saying was like on their side. Like, when we were here in October, they said they need to hire some people to work there. That lady said they hire like 200 and some people. I said, that's not what they said in October. And then at the end of it, she said to me, and what is your name? I said, well, you got my telephone number off the computer, you sure as hell know what my name is already. She laughed and hung up on me. So they're not good to do it when you make phone calls.
Yes.
I make a comment on the telephone calls that we received. And the first 2 were, do you vote in Allegheny County? Then the second one was, do you live in Allegheny County? And I think they knew both of those questions. But that was then, it went into the energy question. They were actually misleading.
What's the name of the company that's called?
SSI, and they're out of Arizona.
Arizona.
They have a wonderful website, with loads of information on how they have the best database on political activity.
And how they can skew anything to be what you want it to be.
Yeah, but the website can be
Public information.
I wasn't there, but my husband, I think, took that phone call, and you didn't give them any information.
It was yes or no answer.
Any other questions? Yes.
There's been a lot of negative talk
throughout this evening, but, I just wanted to recognize the commissioners for, their due diligence with their partnership with the EFY, and I want to thank you for the approval of the funds to help us, revitalize the fields in this area, and hopefully we can continue this partnership for years to come and have an open dialogue. So I just wanted to say thank you to each one of you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. Motion to adjourn if there are no further.
I signed up to speak.
Oh, I thought you had covered it. Well, go ahead.
Nope.
You go ahead, go ahead.
Sorry, when I came in here, this actually wasn't there.
Okay, yeah, after Moody, we'll go ahead.
So my question's probably, I guess, best for
Great.
Matt. Under the Article 5, the general provisions in election of officers, when it states about commissioners shall reside in the ward from which elected, what exactly is the criteria for where they reside?
Well, that's a sliding scale question. So you'll look at things like where do they get mail, where do they live, residency is always, it's gonna be based on a bunch of factors. Typically, it would just be where the person lives, and that's your most basic form. Where is your primary residence?
So just to be clear,
Yeah, I'm not sure.
a little more clarification. The 100th block of Center Avenue in Elizabethboro, PA 15037, is not in the township?
I would agree with you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?